But the thing that people have the hardest time is when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you say? Everything that's wrong usually. So the first thing I teach people is when they're comfortable is to say something nice to themselves. So practice.
Yeah.
So can you try saying something nice to yourself?
I love myself. Hello, Enrich community. This is your virtual bestie, Simran Adderley. Welcome to the Enrich Podcast, the show where we explore topics that inspire personal and professional growth. We have Maria Sideris again with us this time. Hello, Maria.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show.
So good to be back.
Yeah, always a good time having you here. So Maria is a hypnotherapist, a counselor, and also a Reiki Master. And if you want to learn more about Maria, check out the description below. And also we did an episode together last time, our first YouTube video together, which was on self-limiting beliefs. And we talked more about her and her background and experience in there as well. So if you're curious and want to know more about self-limiting beliefs, check out that video as well. So Maria, let's start from the basics. Let's talk about what is self-love and self-care.
Okay, self-love and self-care in counseling is pretty much the basics of how you're caring for yourself. But I'm gonna explore that as well. But I'm gonna sort of give my definition of what self-care is and how I work with my clients, because I work with my clients where they're at. Everybody brings themselves at a different stage in their life. But really, sort of my overall picture is when you find space, you hold space for yourself in your own life, and that's the way. And then we work from there and what that means and define it.
I love that. I personally think, self-love is a starting point of the love. You know, how you value someone else, how you value yourself, the way you prioritize yourself, right? So when I feel like when I am lacking self-love, which we tend to do that sometimes, I take care of myself, as we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, so I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper. It's what I say is you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like you just don't. And I actually work with my clients creating a life bank.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like when I work with my clients, I kind of work with different phases of self-care. People come with some great suffering who have suffered, great losses in their life, or they're going through something medically where they can't even get out of bed. So we work at that point with them. So, we work with getting the proper amount of sleep, not too much, not too little, what it is that you need to be able to function effectively. Eating meals as often as you need them, and incorporating healthy food into your meals, drinking your water, moving your body, getting outside and getting sunlight and getting out into nature, which is, multiple studies prove that. Personal hygiene, making sure you're showering, brushing your teeth, taking care of yourself, taking care of your environment. So beyond personal hygiene, the hygiene of your environment, and seeking any medical and therapeutic help. So that's kind of the first phase. That's where people are coming from great suffering. And then, if my clients have evolved from there, but they need a little bit more, I try and, one of the things I say is, do a dose. So a dose is like smile, let's say, because what it does is it produces the hormones in us that are a D for dopamine, O for oxytocin, S for serotonin, E for epinephrine, those are your happy, feel good, reward, loving hormones. So we get that going. And then, after that, we work on practicing speaking your truth.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that more a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you say speaking your truth,
this is really big for me with self-care. This is what I mean about holding space. Holding space for what you value, what is important to you. So it's the time in your day that you actually have to give to someone. We sometimes tend to self-sacrifice. So we give more time than we have. We give more of ourselves than we give to ourselves. So that's what I mean by, and practicing your truth is being able to say, I have this to give, or I haven't. and being able to say that with confidence and from love. Yeah.
I love that you mentioned, because when I was talking about what I think is self-love, and I mentioned that starting point of love, and you are bang on that, because when I feel like I'm not giving myself that much attention, love, and prioritizing myself, I do not feel the best. And I feel like I'm irritable. I am not being 100% to someone else, or maybe someone needs me.
Absolutely, yeah.
The energy. And even though I want to be there, I love being there for people. I love doing all of that, but I think when I'm not fully in tune and centered. So you also mentioned going for nature walks. That is one of my biggest things that I love doing when I feel like I need all the self-care I need to do right now. So that's the first thing I do, or read a book, or listen to a podcast, something soothing, affirmation. So I think speaking the truth was like a good way of you.
It's really huge that, like in the second phase, that part there that I'm talking about, because what happens is when we start to give more than we have. So let's use the example of a life bank that I use with my clients. So I go, so you love someone, you care for them, and they're asking you for $100, let's say, right? Yeah. So people always can figure out money. So you give them $100, but you only have $80 in your account. So what you're doing is you're going into a $20 deficit. And when you go and you need it and you don't have it, what you do, you start to resent the person you gave the 80 to. So what you're doing is you're breeding anger and resentment and unhealthy emotions and feelings towards someone that you love, that you want to do it for, but you don't have it. So that's what happens. It's natural. We do start to feel resentment. We do start to feel like, why? Like, I'm always giving them everything. I'm always doing everything. Even moms with their kids, as much as they love them, at some point they feel exhausted.
Yes.
And when you're exhausted, you don't have anything to give. Right? It's like, it's like that. It's a cliche, the oxygen mask. When you're on a plane, how can you help someone if you can't even breathe?
I love that analogy. Yeah, 100%. And I think like that's the right point to kind of dive into this question, where how does self-care and self-love impact one's overall well-being and mental health? More like with the experience that you've had with your clients, or the science behind it, or with your knowledge background in this.
Yeah, there's a lot here to unpack. But just, because we have so much time, and every person that comes to me is an individual with their own unique needs. But really what happens is when we're not giving ourselves self-love is we start to notice that our energy levels just get depleted, right? Like I was saying, like you don't have anything to pull from, right? And then our own satisfaction of life, our life satisfaction levels get depleted. So we're unhappy, we're moody, we come across more angry, and so what happens is everyone starts to suffer when we start to suffer.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, and I think with the resentment part, I think it's so true. I felt it myself. Like, even though you love someone, but you are running out of your own self-love, self-care battery, life bank, you're calling it. And personally, when I feel like the other person's stressed and I'm stressed myself, but I haven't given that time to myself or prioritize my mental health, and I'm just giving out basically free energy, and I'm in deficit, and I tend to be moody, and I'm just like, I want to help you right now, but
so exactly. And this is when I work with my clients, discovering the word enough. And I don't mean it in an angry sense, is knowing when you can say, like, I've had enough, and being honest with yourself when you can say, I've had enough and I need to refill my life bank, right? And at the same time, knowing that you are enough, telling yourself that I am enough. I am worthy of this time for myself. I am worthy of, taking the time to go for a walk in nature. I am worthy of whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that you find brings you joy, finding time for whatever brings you joy in the day, so then you can bring joy to everyone else.
Yeah. I think that's where boundaries come in, right? You mentioned we're basically kind of talking about boundaries in the background, that, telling yourself I'm worthy and it's okay to prioritize myself, and teaching someone else how to be treated, right? So I think that's a great way to kind of dive into that. And actually, I'm curious, can you share like a personal experience of yours or a turning point in your life that led you to prioritize self-care and self-love?
Yeah, actually, this is a really serious time in my life. I had small kids. We were renovating a house. I was working. We have a small business. I was giving and giving and giving and giving as much as I could, because that's what happens when you're raising a family and you have small kids. Your time is so limited. Your space that you can hold for yourself is only so much, and there's so many people that are dependent on your space. So what was happening is I took time for myself with my husband, and I went shopping to the mall. Just the two of us, left the kids at a play date, and I got hit by a car as I was crossing the street. No. And this is when I say to people, if you don't find space for something, it seems like the universe will find space for you.
True.
I got hit by a car. I was on crosswalk with other people. I was the only one who got hit, and I was running backwards. I got under the car. Oh no! I was in a very, very serious state. I was taken to the hospital. I was forced to take time for me. I was forced to rest. I was forced to let things go. I was forced into a time, to take care of my body, my mind, my body, my soul, my heart, my emotions, because everything was at play. So, I had to take the time. And this is why I always try and work with people to have preventative, to prevent themselves from getting to a point where you're forced into self-care.
Yeah, I can actually add on to that. I had a similar situation last year. So this sounds very crazy, but I had 14 weddings last year to attend, and Indian weddings are a week long. So not going to lie, in the beginning of the year was fine. But, on top of that, when you have close weddings, you're attending a lot of bachelorettes, a lot of birthday parties, you name it. It's like a life, like a long journey, right? So I have never gotten sick twice in a year, and it was really bad that I got sick twice, and I was feeling anxious more often, and I was like, I've done all this work. Why am I feeling anxious all the time? Like every few days I felt that, like my energy was out of place. Then I wouldn't stop. I'm still going out, and I'm like, I know I'm feeling out of place. I'm not listening to myself. And then I'm sitting at home, and I break my toes, 2 of my toes, while sitting at home. And I get hit by the side of the couch all the time. And then the side of the couch, the leg part of it went in between my toes, and I cracked it.
Yeah.
And I thought it's just a sprain, right? And then no. So I went to the hospital the next day, and it was actually a fracture. So, and I had a very close wedding that week, and then the following week. So the universe literally forced me to slow down, and I felt bad. I was like, why at this time? But universe does force you to slow down a little bit, because you know what? Maybe intentionally I wanted to slow down, and I put that out there. But of course, that's not what I wanted. But you're so right on that.
Funny ending to my story. Not that was funny. It's just like you're reminding me of it. Like the universe makes you stop. The reason I even said that was, now that I'm recalling the whole story, is I was hit by a car. I was sent to a therapist because I was having PTSD dreams at night. I couldn't sleep. I was really suffering. And it was like emotionally scarring, because I was under the car. The wheel was like right here. I could have been run over. And so I went to go see a therapist, and it was the first time I ever experienced hypnotherapy. That's what got me diving into hypnotherapy. And he was asking me to go through my dreams and, what's going on. And so we dove into my dreams.
Wow.
And my dream was this. This is about self-care 100%. I was always trying to find a bathroom to use, and I could never find a bathroom. All the toilets I saw in my dreams were always like filthy, dirty, disgusting, clogged, this, that, the other thing. My therapist goes, do you believe in the law of attraction? I'm like, yeah, I've seen The Secret. Yes. He goes, do you believe that you attracted this to yourself? And I'm like, why would I attract hurting myself?
Exactly.
Right? He goes, maybe from your dream, my analysis is you're taking care of everybody else's shit. You have no time to take care of your own. So it was a literal dream.
Yes.
And I just kind of had like a big aha moment. And he goes, what do you need to do here? This is where self-care comes into play, because you're clearly not taking care of yourself.
I absolutely love that. So would you say you, when you started prioritizing yourself, did you face any resistance, that why am I prioritizing myself? Do you feel that sort of
let me
guilt coming in?
dive
'Cause
into
I
this.
would
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do, and I see it with my clients, but I can speak for myself in this moment.
Mhm.
Is I was a mom with small kids, and
Mhm.
we were renovating a house, and we had a business. I was working, and I felt so guilty being in bed, not being able to do for my kids what they needed me to do, not being there for my husband, not being there for anyone, and not, doing our social calendars or even helping with the house. The little kids were helping go to the dump and stuff.
Mhm.
And having to hire people for things that I could do. And so, yeah, I did have to suffer with the guilt,
Yeah.
and it comes from a space of perfectionism. However, at that point, after seeing a therapist, and this is why therapy is so important, because you go somewhere
100%.
with people who are ready to help you help yourself.
Yes.
Right? And they have the tools and the skills. And through the hypnotherapy, through the talk therapy,
Mhm.
I was able to rediscover what self-care looked like, and how building myself and strength, my power, I was able to then give it back to my family. And
Mhm.
with therapy, it didn't take very long. It was more the physical pain after that.
Yeah, for sure. And you were
Hmm.
ready for it. You're
Yeah.
like, no, I need to do this
Hmm.
for myself.
Hmm.
100%. I think my next question, which I'm very curious about, how do societal expectations and pressures impact our ability to prioritize self-care and self-love? What can we do to overcome these challenges?
Okay, so this here is something that I really would love people to ask themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is it society's pressures, or is it your own pressures? Your
Love
own
that.
expectations?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it, are you practicing in self-sacrificing
Oh.
practices? Are you resisting giving to yourself because you were taught to be everything and to be
Mm-hmm.
perfect, and everything should look a certain way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would go, society has their own things, but really when it comes down to it, we have control of ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's I would dig deeper within myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think being nice really comes in there, because I remember reading this somewhere and it said, don't be so nice that you lose an identity of yourself, like a part of yourself, where, even growing up as kids, are you, like around Christmas time, right? Are you being naughty or nice, right? So you
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
presents or love
Mhm.
based on that,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
ingrained in us. So I
Mhm.
think it's so hard to, you know where I'm going with this, like it's embedded in us, to from our parents or society as well, where you're not being nice if you're prioritizing yourself. You should be there for
Well,
everyone else, because that is
yeah.
personally in my culture I've seen to
Yeah.
be so true, and in our community too, and with other people we talk about these stories and their experiences, and it's sometimes we do, all of us feel that guilt and resistance
Yeah.
to prioritize. And personally, I found that I've gone through these ups and downs where I don't have a hard time prioritizing myself, but sometimes when I'm giving myself too much, now it's ingrained in me that I need to be there for other people all the time. Now that part of me, or I've taught myself that, hey, no, you got to put someone else first before you. And now I'm having a hard time again prioritizing myself and saying no. So it's like a dance.
Well, what I hear you saying no equals not being nice.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas no, and I say, I work beyond no, because people have such a negative connotation attached to it, but enough. I work on enough, instead of saying no, just learning to say, I've had enough of this. I am enough, so I'm going to do this and this and this. And knowing, and then this is where the holding space is, right? Holding spaces. Am I taking too much space in someone else's life? Because then they can't do things for themselves because I'm doing everything for them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Right? So
That's
you're not even
profound.
teaching
Yeah.
people, modeling self-love and self-care to other people, because you're telling them, oh, no, you're incapable of doing that. I'm going to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you feeding inside by doing that? So, this is, being nice. Are you being nice, or are you actually being that selfish because you need to feel good about yourself? So, this is when, therapy, you can sit and you can talk, and like we're talking, or even be honest with yourself. At this point, if you're healthy enough, when you're just looking to grow a little bit more as a person, just sit down with yourself and say, what is the motivation behind what I'm doing?
intentional, comes
Yeah,
down to the intention, right?
Yes, yes.
I think my last question here would be, how can our listeners integrate self-love and self-care practices into their daily routines? And, let's say I come to you, I'm one of your clients, and I come to you and hey, I have a hard time incorporating self-care or self-love in my busy schedule, right? So what's your, quick tip for our listeners here?
What do you do every morning when you get up? When you go to the bathroom? Where do you look?
I look in the mirror. Yeah. I love that.
This is something I worked with kids at school, and I used to use a lot of cognitive behavior therapy because everything that I worked with at the schools was based on empirical based evidence. So, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness. I did all that, everything that had empirical evidence. So there was science behind everything. Being a clinical hypnotherapist and a Reiki master, I work with the mind, the body, the soul, every part of us, the heart, right? All emotions.
Absolutely love it.
But the thing that people have the hardest time is when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you say? Everything that's wrong usually. So the first thing I teach people is when they're comfortable is to say something nice to themselves. So practice.
Yeah.
So can you try saying something nice to yourself?
I love myself.
And a really good thing is, we'll talk, this is a whole other podcast about self-talk,
Yeah.
is talk to yourself in the third person. So say, Simran,
you are doing amazing. You're killing it. You're a rock star, and you are a very confident person.
There you go. Try telling yourself you love yourself.
I love you.
How was that for you?
That felt really good.
Yeah.
This reminds me, this is great, by the way. And this reminds me, have you heard of Mel Robbins?
Yes.
Oh my God. She actually, and I try to do this. I don't do this consistently.
Yeah.
That's a great reminder. This is what I'm going to do every single day now. And I'm going to write this down. And Mel Robbins also mentioned, she's like, there's a high five thing that she does. She looks at herself in the mirror. She's like, we give high fives to everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Give yourself a high five every morning. Yeah. So you can do this. Start your day with great intentions. So that's another great tip. I love that.
Yeah. And the thing with the mirror is working that I did because is to do a character building class in my classrooms, and we began with I am. Another thing is we're so used to putting ourselves down, is like putting your hands on your gut, which is your second brain, and just when you're really lost, is just saying like I am, whatever it is, like I love myself. You just holding on to yourself, touching yourself, getting to that point. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Begin
with telling yourself you love yourself.
Yes.
That's where self-care begins.
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
And holding space for whatever is important in your life.
Yeah. This was really good. Anything else that you would like to say to our listeners, or to me, or to yourself, that you want to put out there regarding any of this that we talked about, self-love and self-care?
To know that you're not alone. There are people who are in your life, or people that you can search and find that can be there with you and help you through whatever stage you are of self-care. And, to put in that you're worth putting in the work for.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming in today, Maria, and talk about self-love and self-care, and reminding everyone to incorporate self-love and self-care in their lives to increase overall well-being and happiness. So thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all the time, of course. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave any comments and questions below so we can answer them next time. And I'm going to leave you guys with this, like I always do, sending you a lot of love and positive vibes. Take care, guys. See you next time.